Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Patrol Base Live. We are doing one of our newer format live streams today, where we want to bring in sort of the biggest brands, the biggest players, and just general airsofters as well. So if you want to be involved in something like this, join the chat. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that notification button, and you'll get a little notification every time we go live. But today we are really excited to be joined by probably one of the UK's, if not the UK's, largest brands. So they'll introduce themselves, but we are joined by VORSK and Nuprol. So Ross from VORSK, Tom from Nuprol. So if you want to just introduce yourselves.
I'm Ross. I'm a creative lead at VORSK Airsoft. Spent a lot of time before that dealing with Nuprol bits and bobs. And
I'm Tom, marketing manager for Nuprol. So as Ross has moved on to the VORSK side of things, I've kind of backfilled and looked after some of your older responsibilities in the company, haven't I? So we're here today just to talk about Nuprol a little bit, but mainly about VORSK and what VORSK is about, and some of our goods and where we're going. So
that's it.
So with that in mind, then, so VORSK is obviously the younger part of the sort of pairing. Where did VORSK come from? What was the sort of ethos behind it, and why was that necessary to bring VORSK to the market?
Yeah, good question. So VORSK's kind of come from, it's one of those brands of, to be really blunt, of what if we could do it ourselves, and you know, kind of there is no limit. You know, let's just make stuff that's really cool. People really enjoy it. We can get some good performance. We can try things. We're not beholden to other platforms necessarily. So it's kind of born of a vision of creating something unique and exciting, different. And as the industry's got larger and diversified, obviously we can move into that.
Yeah, and you can see from the sort of things behind myself and behind them, it's you're not spending a lot of time like chasing licensing or anything like that. If you've got a shape or a design or something really cool, you just go, I'm going to make that, and you can just go, I think this is cool. We're going to make it into a platform.
I mean, it sounds.
You're not
like
doing
a
the
dream.
one-to-one. You're going.
It's a bit like the Top Gear of Airsoft kind of thing, really. I mean, pretty much. I mean, for me, I've always been very into getting things right, making sure that replicas are, you know, one-to-one, all this kind of stuff. But equally, I think that, as I said, the way the industry's gone and going, I think that being able to have free creative control on this kind of stuff is quite important. And as I said, it's going sort of that way anyway. So I feel like being able to create all of these different projects at VORSK, and we'll go over some, and obviously there's ones that are already here. I think there's a unique story behind every single one, and I think that's what's different about VORSK, and creating it as moving forward to creating it as a platform has been really important for us, because hence the different types of gas and the ammunition, and it's a platform, an all-encompassing sort of thing that stays together and complements each other. And we use a lot of experience from our learned experience over the last 10, 15, 20 years. We've got a massive combined experience at VORSK of knowledge. And so it's kind of, it's been really exciting. We're now getting to that stage of our years of work is starting to come to fruition. I've seen obviously lots of different opinions on VORSK and what we're doing and who we are, and that's been interesting to look at from a running it kind of perspective. But who we are is excited airsofters who like business, like creative ideas, and especially love the industry. I mean, it's the best industry in the world. There's no question for me.
It's that whole thing of, like, obviously you're both airsofters as well. You're not just there as part of a company or all like that. So there's guys behind the stages here. We're all airsofters. I play as much as I possibly can. So there's that sort of beating heart of it of, if you want something and you can get it made, it's that dream for an airsofter to go, I'm actually working in the industry. I do it every single day. Some people might think, you're going to get tired after that, doing your hobby as a job, or like, not in this.
I haven't got tired yet, and I'm quite a few. I mean, I'm a dad of two now. That I find that quite tiring. I find that a lot harder.
Yeah. You can slow down on the field, but you don't feel tired.
No, that's it. And I just love it. I mean, for me, it's just chasing that performance anyway. Like that. The performance of these replicas for me is really important, and same with our engineering guys and stuff. It's we want it to be, everything is designed for a reason, and breaking away from the exact replica sort of bounds. Yeah, look, I get it. Some people hate that, and that's fine, right? And you know, I don't have a problem.
Well, we were
with
saying
that.
it before the stream, weren't it? Like, I've been in it since probably 15, 20 years ish now as a player, not necessarily working in it.
Correct.
And back then it was all not stitch perfect, but you were chasing a look all the time, and you were going, I want my rifle to be like this, I want it to be sleek.
Oh mate, you're talking to a guy who was worried about what aerial I had on my fake radio.
Stitch counting and all that kind of stuff, and it was all, and it built that way, and other people doing it, so it was adding to your sort of, everyone was funneled to kind of do the same thing. Modern day, and this is what we said before the stream, kids getting into the sport now, it's all about Twitch streaming, it's all about gaming, and having that uniqueness. So you used to have one or two options. It was like when the Masada or something like that came out, it was like, oh, this is amazing, loads of people got it. Now when something comes out, you go through all this design process and give people options.
That's it.
And there is so much choice for a new player now. They can get exactly what they want.
Yeah, I'm quite jealous, to be honest. I mean, I think back as like you, I've been doing it from, I think my first game was in like 2002 or 3. And yeah, I mean, the same. It was all sort of funneled into like, were you milsim, were you open day, all that kind of stuff. And nowadays, I think that really milsim stuff's cool, and I really enjoy it myself. And I think that's really, there's definitely a place for that. But equally,
we tell people every time, play Airsoft how you want to play it, and I think you've given people that option.
And that's it for me. So like, I'm not, at VORSK, we're not trying to like force stuff on people. There's always replica options, and Nuprol have got lots of other things available. And that's cool, but VORSK for me is just about, and everyone, and even the guys at Nuprol, it's about just having something that's got an identifier, it's unique, but it's unique in a way that's believable. It's a boutique American firearms sort of vibe to it, where this stuff could easily be, available. And then you've got stuff like the Osiris, that's just launched, and the story behind that is one of for me personally, have piqued my interest years ago. And just we just had to make it, and I think that from that perspective, it's still a what if scenario, or what this is kind of all the bounds of why. But as you touched on the story with it being what it was when it came out, that was a project that we chased for quite a long time, just a bit of a vanity project, because there are certain things that I feel the VX9 was a massive. All of my younger years, I mean, I'm not that old, but all my younger years kind of, I made me feel to sound old, but all my younger years, I obviously played a lot of video games and still do, and that for me was why doesn't this exist? Yeah. And it does now, and I'm very happy with that.
And it's that change of what we were saying earlier. You had you've got the Call of Duties and the Modern Warfares, and people will chase that, but you've got Apex Legends, you've got all these kind of things now that are going into that sort of just sci-fi what is possible. So when the sort of design idea, and you sort of look out of what does exist, doesn't exist, where does that process start? So you, for example, like with the Osiris, you had that history part of it, but when it comes to other things like the high capper designing the slides, what's the sort of first sort of pencil drawing on or concept idea? Where does it start and where does it end?
Well, literally that. Pencil drawings, basically. It sounds crazy, but no, we're very we have a very unique situation. We have a very unique setup in what we do. We basically draw something, take inspiration from all various things and put it all into one. And some of the stuff you end up with is hideous, to be blunt. I mean, but also some of the stuff you come up with is like, oh, that's cool. Like, why haven't we done that before? So you start with a pencil drawing, and then that'll. I mean, personally, I giggle because I'll do a pencil drawing, and then the guys will obviously let me know. Nice picture you drawn there, mate.
You put it on the fridge for a
Yeah,
day or two.
I've had all that. I do basically have that at work. Yeah, we've got the old put it on the fridge. Hilarious, but it, that is where it starts, and we joke, but it's a very cool process. And then my drawings and the guys' drawings will go over to sort of the guys who start to put it into 3D and see if it's feasible. Start looking at what platforms we can use. Are we going to use an existing platform because it's fine? And some of the TM stuff over the years is you don't need to change it just for the sake of it. So that's another thing that frustrates me sometimes, is when things are changed for the sake of it.
If something's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly. But equally, I have found through doing this now as well, some of the upcoming projects you guys know about, which I won't go into detail now, but we did feel like it was never great anyway, so why not just change it? A bit of both. So we look at all of that. We look at materials. We look at what finishes we can do, and that's why VORSK got better and better as it's gone, because the more finishes we end up releasing to retail, the more finishes we can then pull from and improve. But yeah, so you go drawing, then it goes to 3D. We've got a lot.
So there's a little. So
yeah,
just examples behind me as you're watching. So if you're just curious of all this stuff behind me, when we're going on, is saying that you draw something on a bit of paper,
So
it goes
starts,
to
yeah.
the sort of design people who put it into straight lines rather than squiggles.
That's it.
Goes to a 3D person to see if it is physically possible. So this is the original 3D print of the to be released
VM9.
VM9.
You're the first person who's ever said that or shown anyone.
Yeah, so so it becomes a 3D model, and then the one that's at the top is obviously you call like this one a shooter model.
So yeah, we have various stages of samples. So as it goes to 3D, we've got some fantastic in-house printing capability at the business anyway, and that's been really good actually over the last 2 years getting to that stage. And that's just a nonsense. So we call them, they're kind of our looking at sort of samples, check that everything's kind of cool.
It gives you that sort of scale.
Yeah.
Is this big enough, or does it need to be another 5%?
Yeah,
A bit
and
smaller, grip,
are
all that kind of
all
stuff.
the 3Ds correct? Is that slide going to slide onto the frame? Is the frame the same as another frame that exists? What's the compatibility? All that kind of stuff. So yeah, we go from that, and then we go up from a decorated. Then we go to like a pre-decorated sample, which is a shooting sample. Sometimes we go straight to a decorated sample that doesn't shoot well because it might be a specific thing. So like the VX9 took a lot longer to develop because of the ridge across the top of the slide. Yeah, that's it. That's the first ever shooting sample that came with us to IWA back in 2019 or whenever the one before all the COVID stuff was.
The last one we were allowed to go
but
to.
I remember that, yeah. But yeah, so that took a bit longer. So we went we go straight through because of the grips. You had the rubber onto the wood and all this kind of stuff. So that's those things, although they're not functioning in a way, they're still quite important to get right. So, but then you go up to a shooting sample, and that's when it gets really quite exciting or terrible. That's
So
when.
does each one of these steps potentially have a hard stop?
Yes.
Or is it always, there's always adjustments that can be made?
No, sometimes it just can't.
Yeah.
I've had projects where we've made it into 3D,
Yeah.
and then we've looked at each other and gone, nah.
Yeah.
That's if you release that's not right.
So you have, and that'll, as airsofters sort of starting out and getting into the sport, and a lot of players, like, they want to do the YouTube thing, and you're sort of sitting in this position where you've got this, I'm designing airsoft platforms, and there's a huge sort of buzz of getting something like this on the thing, but you've then equally have that, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, so
and you've got to pick yourself up and go back
you
to
have
the
to draw
drawing
from
board.
you have to draw from your experience, and I think that for us, everything we do, I can tell you now directly, is of passion and love to this sport and industry and what we design. And you will find that sometimes, if it doesn't fit into that mold, then the harsh reality is you can't just push something because you personally think it's going to be cool. It has to. There is an industry out there. We speak to guys like you, as you know. We have good lines of communication, and yeah, it has to fit into a place. And if you're trying to then make your sample fit into, you're wrong. You're doing it wrong. So what you'll find is with things that happen, sometimes some of our projects, like the Osiris was a project, probably one of my first. I actually wanted to do that before the VX9.
So this is the newest one that is out. So the Osiris, if you've been on the website recently, the history of this is what started this one off. Rather than a pencil drawing, this is to be the sort of pinnacle or the go-to full auto platform as a sidearm. So as you can see, as an M9, you can't see the barrel. It's very different. It's got that history behind it. So this is a full auto Osiris that has select fire. And you've built this from the ground up when it comes to the slide and everything like that.
Yeah, so there was quite for that you're quite constrained. So like in terms of that comes from a passion of the Milsim kind of compassion feeling again of trying to, where do you draw that line of making it correct but making it unique but making it VORSK. So there's definitely a line to cross. Now the VM9 that's below that's yet to be announced, which I guess we're announcing now.
So if you are watching, you're the first people to ever see this.
Yeah, exactly.
So those that have seen the Osiris or have seen similar things like it, obviously it's got a lot of kit on this one. I'll do it so you can actually see it on the camera. very, very different. So you've got the cut slides, you've got the serrations at the back.
Again, you're less constrained. The Osiris was designed off of something that existed that I felt needed to be resurrected. There were some very old kits from back in the day, from like Intruder Shop and stuff. I think it was like Garda or something years ago made it, and but they were like really expensive because they were CNC made, and then you look at it and you think, actually that's wrong. That bit on it isn't quite right. Then you have to. But whereas the VM9 is just it's just safe or semi, so it's not select fire, but it's the VORSK
look of something
platform.
The cut slides, the stippled grip,
it's
things like that.
What if we were kind of doing it? What we would do. So that you can see design wise for that's pretty mad. It's got an actual Riz rail on top.
So a lot of people see the dot that's on the top of this. You normally see with some of the other ones, it either attaches to a rail. With the VORSK, it either attaches to a rail or it's actually mounted inside the slide. So on this one, it is a 20mm. So you got about 1.5 inches of 20mm rail on the back. You could put a T1 dot on it. You could put a red dot. You could put whatever you want.
And it's not actually. You can take it off if you want. It just comes off, but that rail underneath it is actually fixed into the mould. It's not just screwed on it's not screwed on through the top. It's not going to come loose. It's in the mould. And also you've got the rear iron sight goes down the centre of the Riz. So you've got a real kind of it's quite unique. Look, I'm not silly. Some people are looking at it now and going, "Oh, my eyes!" Like, I get that, but that's the point. Right?
It's options.
That's it. And for me, the VM that's been a funny one because as it's gone through various production stages, we've been quite up and down. And 1 minute it'll come through and I look at it and I go, "Oh, I don't know." It's quite different. But then we'll look at it and we'll go, actually, and we chuck it on that frame like we did the other day, and it's like, oh, actually, this is quite nice. So it's that, but it's practical. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be used. I mean, you might not put a suppressor on the front. You might not want to put a torch on. That's fine. But
it just shows the options.
That's it. But
so we've got people watching us already that want to ask some questions. So we've got a viewer question already. So if you want to throw that up, Daniel on YouTube. Would VORSK sell parts ever, like slides that change the colours? So with VORSK, you've got them options like the high cappers, the EU series, these and things like that. Is there a view down the line of putting the slides as a separate item?
Interesting question. We already do. For some of the high cappers, we've got slide kits available in various colours. And again, good question. The idea is exactly from that kind of logic. I think it's just is it just high cappers at the moment?
And EUs,
high cappers and EUs. So we've already got those available, boxed separately. They're pretty much ready to go slides. I think you just take them. I think you have to change the outer barrel, but the actual
the nozzle and everything,
the blowback unit, and that's all there. So that's kind of that idea. So yes, that's kind of already out there. We probably haven't pushed it that hard as a brand because again, it's about building platforms. But for me, VORSK is very young.
I think going back to the point about the spares and stuff, because something you said with the original vision and stuff was you wanted customers to be able to have access to spares. Because the journey from original factory and production to end user in the UK can be quite long.
So if you contact your shop, we can contact you.
Yes, always.
Parts are available. And because you're UK based,
that's it. To be honest, that's really undersold, I think. But I think most people, not undersold is maybe not the right word, but I don't think that's appreciated. I think that's a big deal. Like for us, I mean, especially back, like I said, early 2000s when I was playing, it just wasn't possible. If your gun broke on the weekend, like, to be honest with you, there was a sort of a 50-50 chance whether it was ever going to work again, especially gas blowback. That was a big thing. But that question's a good one, and I think that to just open up on it a little bit more, VORSK is viewed as a platform. It's viewed as an ecosystem, and it's viewed as that's why we have like our gases and our ammunitions, because you don't have to use it if you don't want. That's cool, but when we're producing, we have to have a benchmark. We have to have something that I can test against, that the guys can test against. We have to be able to say on V6 expect this, on V8 expect this, on our .2 ammo expect this, and that's quite important. And it's difficult. There's already enough jargon out there, so for me to make that all of that platform thing will lead on in the future. I can tell you now, coming through, we've got a lot of match models. What I mean by match, for those who don't know, is the various coloured sort of like all the
furniture.
parts. Yeah, the furniture.
Yeah.
And that's been a big request, especially since we've been, obviously the high cappers have been out now a good 2 years, and that was something that we got asked for. And they will come out, and those guns will be available in the next few months. But also on top of that, obviously, then you start looking at, well, people are going to want to buy their own furniture.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is a big thing in airsoft, that as soon as someone gets anything, they're like, what can I do to it? What can I add to it? But touching on what you were saying there about testing and the design process like that, and like you're saying, VORSK has all these models, and obviously they've then got to the gas and the ammunition. You've obviously brought the gas out, and you were testing that on the range that you have, and you've brought the 3 different ones to it. Yep. So going forward now, all your things are tested on the V6, V8, V12.
Correct. So that's kind of part, again, back to the ecosystem thing. So for me, everything, when we get our shooting samples, we only use V6, V8, V12 factory at manufacturing point. The idea is the pressures and the gases are used and everything. Again, we test a lot on high pressured air early on, because obviously you'd be going through thousands of tins a year. So obviously when you're in early development, you use high pressured air.
But is that more for functionality rather than performance, when it's coming to the performance thing that you wanted to finally
correct.
tune it?
So what we do is we use it to get it to a shooting point, and then we start using gas. But even that high pressured air is kind of at the correct. It's at that point where we expect, with a bit of cool down and drop off, we expect it to be at that pressure. So there is that element right from the start of kind of different pressures and all that. But yeah, it's designed that the whole thing is. I'm not one of these people. I don't really believe in sort of like closed platforms. I'm quite into computer building and all that kind of stuff myself, and I found that always quite frustrating when you get like these closed off platforms, like one chipset doesn't work with another for no other reason than the fact that it's just locked. So I try to steer away from that, and I think using our gas and that as a metric is fine, but I don't really. It's not one of those things where you can't use anything else.
No, but if you know something, if you know what your V6, V8 and 12 are capable of, and then you know what all these are capable of, if someone goes, I'm using this and this, you can say, I would expect you to get this out of it. If someone says they're using something different, you go,
it's a metric that's tough. It's difficult because obviously you have, in an industry like this with all these different brands and consumables and powers and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, obviously it's going to be a challenge. So you're reluctant to give the figures out, but then if you don't give the figures out, people say, why aren't you giving the figures out? So you have this very. When we do it, we want to do it right, and I felt like that was by creating our own ecosystem. I've got a lot of experience over the years, and my team and everybody at Nuprol, who I know well, have got a lot of experience with gas, obviously.
Well, we like going back to that whole thing of like years and years ago. It was always called snake oil. That you'd hear this, you'd hear that, or this is really good with this, but it's always players talking to you. So if you've created this bubble with the figures and everything like that, does maybe the testing or the design process or even the marketing, getting it out, what is the hardest thing? Because I can put something in front of someone like this and say it's really, really good. And I always think that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, claims you can't substantiate.
Yeah. I'm like, this is the best thing on the wall, but I'm saying it on camera, trying to get it out to someone. Do you think the design process, the marketing, or actually physically getting it into players' hands the hardest thing of creating a new product?
Preconceptions.
Yeah,
it's been hounded. This industry's been hounded by preconceptions for years. That's fine. That's what we deal with, and it's quite fun actually to break.
Everyone's
those.
got an opinion.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that's cool, and I love it. And we all disagree here. Just before the show, me and you were talking about different platforms, and you don't like that platform just because you don't like it. But that's fine.
And that's an aesthetic thing, not a performance
exactly.
thing.
But
So
I think that it's wrong. I think there's a lot of things get thrown out, especially in airsoft, against all brands, not just us and Nuprol. And I think just in general, you get a lot of negativity sometimes from. But actually, that's the thing. The industry is actually very positive. It's just that obviously negative stuff's usually louder. But I think that
if someone's having a good time, they're not going to complain about it. They're just going to enjoy themselves.
Exactly.
So if something breaks, they talk about it.
And I think that's no, but it's important. And I think that you should listen to feedback. But usually, you'll find with this stuff that there's usually a reason why something's not been done that way, or there's not. You just might not necessarily understand that because that's not what you do as your job or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely that's the hardest thing is preconceptions, because sometimes you can't even. Some people just refuse flat to even to purchase or use some of our product. For I don't. But why? Like you're only missing out. At the end of the day, in my opinion, obviously I'm going to say that, aren't I? But I'm not saying it like that. I am genuinely telling you. I'm being straight. It is. I'll use stuff that's from other brands if I feel like it's the best stuff, and you know, that's it at the end of the day, and that's how we kind of design everything. And that's the hardest bit, definitely, is it once. But I feel like with VORSK over the last 2 years, getting it to where it is now, a lot of preconceptions have been taken down.
Do you think, and this is maybe more on the marketing thing, and now that things are opening back up, do you think not being able to do the shows or not be able to physically put this in a player's hands?
Yep.
Obviously, VORSK has grown and it's still growing, and Nuprol's grown and it's still growing, and everyone's slowed down a little bit with the 2 years, and you can carry on as much as you can, but physically not be able to go and see players, has that slowed you down on a marketing side as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, generally speaking, IWA hasn't been happening, so the big boys in the business aren't getting together. The events have been few and far between. They're starting to get going again now, but obviously we haven't been out on the road with the new product, showing players and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all starting to get up to speed again. And then with what we were saying about VORSK is quite a young brand as well, isn't it? And it's always easy to kind of, you know, the new kids on the block sort of thing. And then with, I mean, you can see from what's behind us on the walls here, and where we've kind of got in with, say, like the VX9 and the Osiris has a certain sort of look to it. It's very one-to-one. And then you have some, you know, real crazy products like the high cappers, the VP26X,
Dragon and all that.
Dragon's really going nuts, and I think, you know, some people can maybe see a bright pink Titan with chrome insides and stuff, and think that's not for them, and assume that's what VORSK is in its entirety. But it's.
I think I've
really
been through that. I've been through that whole process from starting, like discovering Airsoft. I went and looked on a few websites. And I was like, there's the old sort of WE like high capper 7-inch. I was like, I really want that. I really want it.
Yeah.
And then VORSK have got their versions. They've got the BDS version. So you've still got to, even though you've been in it like 20 years, you've still got to factor in for that. Oh my God, this is really cool factor.
But that's actually, for me, that's one of the things I like to capture and serve to people, is actually that moment of wonder. I think the VX9 is a good example, just because the amount of people I saw opening them and receiving them, and it's that.
There are some great photos of people with VX9s,
exactly,
agencies at home.
Encapsulating that moment of like, oh my God, I can't believe I managed to get that. Oh, this is exactly what that kind of feeling. But you know, sometimes that stuff isn't actually skirmishable, or it's not even used for that. It's, I mean, I a lot of this stuff, you know, obviously it's all designed to be skirmished, right? So I'm not saying it's not, obviously, but a lot of there is a big base of VORSK users who no, I've got VX9s, no, I'm not using them. They don't even want to cycle them because they don't want to like mark the barrel.
Like the presentation in the box, they just want to leave it like that, have it in a case.
And that was part of that when we released the custom shop sub-brand stuff, was kind of that. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, they're perfectly skirmishable, great performers. I implore people to use them if they're not, because at the end of the day, that's what they're for. But equally, even in my own home office, I have a glass cabinet, and I have all my sort of, you know, prototypes in there and stuff, and the VX9 specifically, I have them all engraved with the markings and stuff that you know are not on the retail versions, if you know what I mean. And it's kind of they're one of my favourite. I mean, that kind of me, that what I'm like, I would love and purchase that regardless,
and use it and run it, get it dirty.
Not just because I'm sort of where I am at VORSK, but just because I would buy a VX9 and use it, but I would also buy a twin pack of VX9s, probably go and get them engraved and then not use them and put them in that glass cabinet. So I'm kind of in that, I think about it like myself sometimes, you know, like, which it seems to be okay, but some stuff I just think needs to be displayed and really beautifully kept, and other things are used and absolutely abused. And I think that's what's really important. This brand, it tries to cater both of those things, and that's really important. And moving forwards, that'll always be important. I don't just want, because something's pretty, it should still perform. Yeah.
So going a quick touch back on the 3D to sort of production end user. We've gone from pencil drawing to 3D printer to shooter to slightly ready to what a end user can get hold of. It's never going to be a straightforward process, but on average, what's that kind of timescale? So if you, from that first line of a bit of paper,
I'll use the Vengeance. So the Vengeance there that you've got at the back with the final and the two other samples. I mean, that project was my engineer. He was just had this vision. Obviously, we're fans of film, TV, and obviously, you know, in John Wick and stuff, you've got that. But they were kind of like the one-to-ones were already done, so we wanted to do that kind of what if VORSK kind of did it. But that will take. I think that project took from literally like us talking, which started, and then saying right, let's do this, to it happening was probably 16 months from it being released. I mean, some of those, I guess, probably the project of it being ordered is probably better to say actually than received because of the global issues. But you know, I've got projects that we're still working on that we started week one.
Yeah, you've shown us a few bits
that
well,
they're behind the camera.
Yeah, no, you're not looking at them, but they are going to be cool. And be very excited. For
and we're talking at that point. You're talking possible years. Because you've still got you have to keep releasing and manufacturing and improving but equally at the same time you have to make new stuff. So. And then you've got that other problem. If I decide and we say, right, that project's not, that platform is just no good, then moving forwards, you know, you don't want to base it off that. But then what platform is? But that platform might have problems. So you might go, right, let's do a mashup or create something completely new. Now you're talking considerably longer because obviously that, you know, and it's difficult for me to say because at the moment, because we're so young, I can sit here and say this, and you've seen things, and Tom can sit here and say because he knows what's coming. So from that perspective, obviously, it's hard for me to explain that with evidence yet because it's the stuff that's taken a really long time, that takes longer than sort of 6 to 12 months, is not out yet.
And there are larger scopes of what that is as
That's
well.
It, big ones.
So you from a simple item, going from that, it can be 6 months, but that next project that has wider connotations, you've got to make sure them next steps are done before you carry on.
That's it. So the Vengeance, for example, the one we were just talking about, that's obviously based off the same platform as our standard VORSK Kykapper. So from that perspective, we kind of know where we are.
Yeah.
So that saves a lot of time. So I would say, realistically, the Vengeance took 8 months. However, we were also working on the standard one at the same time that came out before, which took probably 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's but like I said, I can't. It really depends on what goes into the project. The Osiris, you could argue, took 24 months because the Osiris has been sat there like, please make me, and you do a little bit here, and then that project becomes something that you work on in your own time because you're sad like me, and then you end up with this project, and you go, actually, you know, there's something in that now. Let's make that.
So we've got another viewer question that we'll just quickly jump to. Daniel on YouTube, would VORSK make a HPA mag adapter for pistols? So, or just, we can go on to the sort of mag side of things in general. So whether or not you're going to do adapters to actually physically make these HPA, or if there are like drum mags or larger capacity ones, because obviously we spoke about the future mags that are coming out, but future of things like that, is there any HPA ideas, or are you just going to stick to this?
I think HPA is a difficult one, really. I have to walk a line between personal opinion as well as commercial, business, all that kind of stuff. I won't rule out making an HPA adapter. I'll just say that I wouldn't rule anything out. But for us, it's really peak V6, V8, V12, gas propelled. That's kind of where they're. But without talking about projects that I can't talk about just yet, there may be a scope later on. But again, the HPA thing, and just speaking from as a brand representative now and in business, just being blunt, the problem you have with HPA is because of the regulation of it. We're a European brand, we sell all across Europe, and the problem is that you've got to make things that can work for everyone in a way, and hit also legalities. But HPA is difficult because to be really blunt about it, it's difficult to control. So. If someone chucks HPA and they're running at whatever pressure and they blow the slide off the top of the gun, you know, it's not only it can be a safety issue, but also it's not designed.
It kind of comes out of your little eco bubble, like you're testing on the V6, V8, V12. If someone then throws this in theirs and they crank it up to 120 psi.
But equally, back to what I said earlier,
if you're a responsible HPA user, it should be fine, shouldn't it? Yeah. But it's that
sort of. But again, back to what I was saying before that. Actually, I'll touch on about. But I don't believe in closed platforms.
Yes.
So I wouldn't rule it out for that reason. But again,
because someone can do it with what's on the market already. It's just
Exactly.
you've not made it, and
it's
not in your
do I need to directly endorse it? No, I mean, I know what you can. I mean, like I said, we HPA them already because that's how we test.
Yeah.
So there's already ways of doing it out there, and I don't know whether I would ever officially do it. But
because this is what we were on about before the stream as well. So going back to this one with the mag that's on this, that you were saying that this isn't the mag that's going to come with it, but this is your future sort of remit of what might come for everything. Is rather than having the standard mags in the future, these are going to be called the mid mags.
Yeah.
So you're going to add gas capacity, add a little bit more, rather than having the big 50 round magazine or anything like that.
Which we do that as well.
Which still
awesome.
fits, so you've still got the option, but rather than having something on your hip that's going to be a sidearm, you don't want that 50 rounds.
We look at all this stuff, and I think so. And again, I've been really honest. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I've had a whatever brand 1911 or MEU, and performance isn't great." Well, no, probably not. I mean, the problem you've got with all this stuff is that a 1911 is inherently one of my favourite platforms, but inherently gas restricted. It is restricted by what you can have. And when we made that VX9, my response to people who moan about this would be, well, that's fair, but equally it had to be a single stack 1911 platform because that's what it is. That's why we ship it with extended mags.
Yes. We were saying before,
exactly,
wasn't it? So I've always told people with the 1911s and things like that, if you treat a sidearm platform, all the mags that come with them are reel caps. Yes, you can put more BBs in them, but if you treat it as a reel cap, they work perfectly fine. So the high cappers, you can put 16, 17, you can put more in because there's more gas. In a 1911, a reel cap is 7 rounds. So if you put 7 to 10 rounds in your 1911 or your anything like that, it's going to work perfectly fine. Trying to get twice or 16 rounds out of it, it's going to gas out.
And sometimes, some people say,
awkward.
"Oh, well, I've done it with my 1911." Yeah, maybe, but was it 27 degrees outside and was it sat in your bag for like 2 hours? But again, inherently, that's not. VORSK hasn't made a 1911 that performs badly. It depends on all these circumstances and situations. And it goes back to what I said before about opinion and factual stuff and it being prejudged. Factually, 1911 wise, our VORSK stuff is on test is some of the best. I can say that quite confidently, and that's why, again, in response to that, we're aware of obviously the gas reservoirs and stuff are smaller. Just again, inherently, there's nothing we can do about it. So what we can do is make them CO2 compatible, produce CO2 magazines, the side loading ones as well, not the horrible from the bottom ones, and also extended mags. We started producing extended magazines, CO2 extended magazines. This is so. I'm trying to, from a brand perspective, we're catering to that complaint, but equally within the confounds of what we can do.
And those things that you, again, not preconceptions, but pre-knowledge, being an airsoft, you knew these were,
of course,
and you knew it, and you still put them out, but because you put them out knowing that they're getting fixed.
It's difficult to translate that to the end users. It's difficult to but the extended mag thing for me and VORSK was very important that we had. You have the extended magazines available. We tried it. We've got coming out soon. I think in the next 6 months, every single project that VORSK has on the market will have an extended mag, a CO2 mag, an extended CO2 mag, and then a gas mag. So again, it's choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It comes down to what you want to run, and that for me was very specifically the 1911. I mean, performance on high cappers is absolutely amazing, and other platforms as well, and our 9 platforms great. But again, it's not even that the 1911. I'm not even saying the 1911 is poor. It's actually brilliant. Yeah. But it's, again, if you gas your mag, you get your gun out, you're excited. I get it, right? I'm the same. And you get it out and you gas it up really quickly and you chuck all your BBs in it and you immediately start shooting it. Well, you got the cool down effect's obviously going to be worse if you've just just gas the mag. The mag's small anyway, and the ambient temperature is pretty cold because we live in England.
And it goes back to, again, that not being able to get face to face with players. Our descriptions and everything, we can be as thorough as possible, but you guys that are producing it, getting it out, now that you've not been able to do that marketing face to face, you could be at shows going, here's the 1911, this is how it's meant to be used, do this, do this, do this, do this, and they're going to have a much better, rather than someone getting it, opening it up and doing what they
it's a difficult thing to, absolutely. It's if we can get that balance right, then we're succeeding, because it's a difficult balance. Anybody in our industry, anybody that works in our industry hears what I'm saying, and they know. And it's you want to keep things open and enjoyable, but equally you want to make sure that it's being used correctly, but you don't want to put artificial restrictions in to stop people enjoying it. But it's a tough one.
So we've been going for a while there, so we are going to just pause slightly for a very quick break. Join us again in about 10 minutes. We'll be back sat down for many more questions, and if you hang around all the way to the end of the stream, there might be something to do with the giveaway, but we'll see you in a little short while.
At Patrol Base, we believe every airsoft gun deserves a home. Even the ones that have been left battered and bruised. These guns don't need donations, they need homes. Visit our Boneyard section today, because you're not just getting an amazing deal, you're helping save an abandoned airsoft gun.
This is Billy. Billy wants to buy a new airsoft gun. He seems to have his eye on the Tokyo Marui Scar L. Is that right? But Billy's seen the price. Is that a bit out of your price range, Billy? Well, not to worry, because Patrol Base has many finance options available. From interest-free finance to buy now, pay later, we can find an option right for you. In store, our staff can talk you through the options, and using our handy portal, you can fill out all the details needed. If you can't make it to our store, you can take advantage of all of our finance options online. Simply complete your basket, and in the payment options, select the finance option that best suits you. If you're having any trouble, our helpful customer service staff are just a phone call away. So what are you waiting for? Visit Patrol Base today. For full terms and conditions, please visit patrolbase.co.uk/Klarna-payments.
MOLLE, which stands for Modular Lightweight Load Carrying Equipment, is a universal attachment system across clothing and tactical equipment, for example chest rigs, pouches, backpacks and more. Two main styles exist, one being the traditional loop and the other the more contemporary laser cut, which is lower profile. Both are interchangeable.
Morning ladies and gents, I'm Stuart from Patrol Base.
I'm Pete, and this is Mike, we're from Patrol Base.
Hi, I'm Sam from Patrol Base.
Hey guys, I'm Pete from Patrol Base. It's our late night Thursday, and tonight it's VORSK night. Let's go.
Hi ladies and gents, we're at the end of our VORSK evening and we're going to give some prizes away. So everyone that's on the leaderboard that has managed to guess the correct number of targets, we're going to draw from a hat, and we've got many t-shirts to give away.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Jack. Where's Jack? Is Jack here?
Anti-climax.
Hampson.
Danger Club. Number 11.
Pete Roberts.
No, he's not here.
Not here.
Number 17.
Is James Morehouse. Not here.
Number 16.
Ryan McSweeney. Not here.
13.
13 is Tim Richardson. Not here.
15.
Alex Gruber. Die Hard. What? Not here.
Number 5.
Callum Leach. Come and get a t-shirt. Where are you?
What?
Next
Number
one.
3.
Maloney. P. Maloney.
Baloney.
Post Malone.
Is that a yes? Not here. Last t-shirt.
Number 14.
14 is Mr. Lockwood. Mickey Lockwood. Not here either. Right, our final grand prize for the VORSK evening, guys, is a brand new pistol. The people on the scoreboard here got hit 3 targets in under 5 seconds. So we'll have 1 ticket drawn out.
One
please.
draw. Oh.
Number
Very small paper. Number 10.
Number 10
That
is
means nothing to you.
Leon Garth. He's
Victor
not
Garth.
here. Is he here? I heard.
Is there anybody here?
No, no one's here. So we'll contact Leon, and this is the little one.
So congratulations, Leon, on your new VORSK pistol. Well shot. Keep an eye out on social media, guys, for news of any upcoming late night Thursday events. But until then, we'll see you later.
Now, my daddy didn't teach me nothing about much. But he told me that your AEG is either working hard or hardly working. With our wide range of AEG replacement and upgrade parts, you can give your AEG the TLC it deserves. You would have made Daddy proud.
Don't fall short on your next airsoft game. Stock up your airsoft supplies at Patrol Base and enjoy our generous bulk buy discounts. Shop now.
Joining us, we are here today with VORSK and Nuprol, just having a chat about the VORSK range and everything like that, where it began, how they draw little doodles and turn them into pretty little platforms like this. With that being said, so being airsofters, you've produced something from scratch all the way to an end user platform. Is there one particular one of these that is either your favourite via looks or from the project itself?
Do you want to go first? You go first.
Okay.
Because I just always love your, because you love it as well. So
yeah, okay. Well, I mean, the latest one that we've released is the Osiris.
Yeah.
And
you have stolen it.
I have. I knew I'd steal it.
Theft. I think what my other favourite is now.
You're not allowed to like the same thing.
No, I said that to him. I said, no, we are allowed to like the same ones. But I didn't mean it. You weren't supposed to do it to me live.
I'm sorry.
Go on, then you go. Go
on. Just because you've gone into it really well on your product page and your description, and you were saying in your video you did the other week, but the whole sort of like reviving something that was kind of lost to the annals of history.
It's almost like that little bit like Forgotten Weapons thing, where someone pulls a little thing out and you've not seen it in 20 years and you go, oh, that does exist, but you've produced it from this sort of mythical unproduced or unfinished project somewhere
just
else.
the concept of them going for like real steel military contracts, and this idea was developing into something that could, because if that had won, it would have been the military history of sidearms could have been not completely different, but it would have been slightly different.
Would have been pretty different.
So just the whole idea that we've or Ross and the team behind VORSK have managed to revive that and bring it about, and now it's available for people to purchase, which is exactly going back to what Ross was saying earlier about giving players choice. So I think you guys have done a great job with that one. So
and you're not allowed to like that one anymore. So
I mean, to be honest, my favourite project isn't out yet or announced. So I can't talk about that.
Yeah,
but it has to be honest, for me, it's probably the VX9. Again, back to
that's the shooter variant of it, the real one. In the box.
We got one up here as well.
Yeah, one up there. But I mean, it's got to be the VX9 because before, I mean, I do love the Osiris for all the reasons that Tom said, and I also found it fascinating when we were early days with that, looking into it. I've always known about that model, the real one anyway, for a long time, and had long discussions with some of my contacts who I speak with, and just it was cool to make it and get it right. That was quite important to me.
It was so well received as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
remember you had that day when we were just going through just posts that people had done with their agencies, and you just knew that you'd scored a home run there, and that was exactly the type of person that you made that replica
with the VX9. Yeah, definitely. The VX9 is definitely when it came out. It was quite. I wouldn't go far as saying emotional, because that makes me sound a bit, But I mean, it was really cool because there's certain things about it, right, that like as a project, it was very much based on a game model. It was very much based on, and that game model actually has inaccuracies, right? Yep. So that model is based on a kind of a back in real steel world. It's kind of a hardballer, right? But it isn't, because there's obviously things that aren't perfectly correct from the VX9 to that. But again, what's important about that is, like that ridge on the top, that is exaggerated because in the video games it's exaggerated. Yeah. So it's that kind of, now that was a decision, like someone will look at it and go, it's just average, it's too, but no, that's a conscious decision to openly, I mean, it's so unique, and obviously that slide, that's not borrowed from any other projects, it is what it is. And there are Again, I love it because that grip as well, and it's quite a bad example, that one I'm looking at, because it's the original sample.
The original sample. So
Yeah.
you've got the sort of wood grips with the...
Inlaying that rubber and real wood together was a nightmare. It was very difficult. I'm so glad we carried on. Even down to the trigger. The trigger's got the adjustable trigger pull. Obviously that doesn't work because it's like, you know, it's airsoft and it's for what it is, it's not worth it. But obviously the real one had this adjustable trigger for, you know, and it's just getting it all right and putting it together, and then making the suppressor kit, making the extended inner barrel as well, so that these are all things. So now from that VX9, I can tell you that around that time of the VX9, we decided actually to incorporate inner threaded barrels into every single project from now on. So every single VORSK pistol now produced since that gun has a threaded inner barrel. And what that means,
the Osiris with
the
with one on
Osiris,
just
the Osiris has got it, and so it's just obviously the outer barrel, fine, but it's the inner barrel, so the extensions we do, which do take you over quite a lot of like can take you over the limits, but again,
especially if you're creeping onto the V8,
but it
V6.
does also depend what your limit is for what you're doing. So
Yeah.
some of them, you know, you could easily, if you're a sniper and you got an engagement range and you're 350 FPS, you know, you're still kind of, you're okay. So again, it is usable, but also just for it being cool and shooting it and using it as targets and stuff. So definitely the rear sight was different, the front sight was different, the hammer was different. So it was a very, okay, you've released a 1911, but actually when you actually look at it, I think 1911 wise, I don't think it uses any 1911 like pre-molds
Original
or
parts,
stuff. So there was like two. So it's quite that definitely the VX9, and then the double pack. You got to remember, brought the double pack out, and that was like crazy. That was like, what are you doing, man? Like, you can't bring out a double pack, 2 guns in one. And we did, and it outsold the singles.
sequential serial numbers.
Yeah, all that.
So we've got another viewer question, so we'll go to the viewers. The Scottish Cat, one of our regulars. Would VORSK ever decide to make an LMG? Well, this kind of sits onto my next question. That was going to be, VORSK is very much like the ecosystem. You are a gas blowback company with various things that are going to come in the future. Whether or not one of them is going to be an LMG, that could be down the line. But could we imagine a gas blowback LMG for a minute?
So I mean, I've got the fortunate. Because I've been doing this quite a long time, and I was involved in other things from years past. I did actually see some working ones over in Asia. I've seen some prototypes. I've seen some.
Well, me and an old member of staff here always sat down and thought of getting one of the old Mach 11s and putting that inside an LMG body.
The problem with an LMG is it's designed for sustained fire. Right?
Yeah.
And the problem with sustained fire with gas blowback is the inconvenient truth is that does not work well.
No.
And you can drive the cool down, you can use better gases, you can have a warm day, but ultimately sustained LMG fire for a gas blowback is a challenge, which I like, and I like challenges, and I think that I wouldn't rule it out. There are various things you can do that make, you know, using various different reservoirs to, you know, all that. You can. But no, what you'd probably end up doing is if you were going to do that, you would probably make it, you'd probably have to make it HPA, which, go back to what I said earlier.
Yeah. It's not in your bubble at the moment.
But is it out of it completely? No, because again, if that's how you make a blowback LMG and that's how you do it, VORSK is a gas brand, but it's a blowback. It's about, that's the kind of thing we're at. So no, we're not just going to suddenly release an AEG LMG. Are we going to suddenly release a gas one? No, because I mean, there's so many other things that logically, what would you do next? It wouldn't be that. Logically, we've discussed this, and you know, there's, you know, what would you do? Well, that's probably what we're doing. So that's obviously that you have to get all that first, and then once you do that, then you can start looking at some of the crazy stuff.
Once you've made everything and the LMG is the last thing to make, then you might make one.
Well, yeah.
So another viewer question. Kevin Cater on YouTube. Would VORSK ever consider making an M4 platform? Again, it's considered, so you can say yes.
I mean, Yeah, I mean, logically, you know,
Yeah.
what, like I just said, you know, yes.
It's going to come at some point.
Yeah, I think.
Do you think so? Rather than saying, "Are you going to make it?" Do you think starting, because obviously people, if you're going to create a gas blowback brand or everything like that, you've got all these different things out there. You've got all the different brands of pistols. You've got the MWS. You've got all these things. Do you think starting on the pistols and creating this big wide brand, be able to create that bubble, has given you that next step to then progress into becoming this gas blowback?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's obviously, you know, I mean, like I said, you kind of have a bit of an insight into what's coming. So, yes, what you're saying about being this all-encompassing sort of brand. I mean, pistols is where you would start, obviously, but equally, we want to make gas blowback airsoft accessible. For me, I think that I've always enjoyed gas blowback, even rifles, SMGs. I love it. It's, for me, it's that next level of immersion. For me, it was the passion. The passion really got going for me when I used to run, like some of the older stuff. I used to run some of the SMGs and stuff. I used to go to the mall in Reading and play there and run like 10 mags across my chest and weighed a ton, and all my mags were leaking all the time, and you know, all of that. But I'm acutely aware of the frustrations of that, and I think that my dream personally, and if I can do that here, fantastic, is to make all avenues of gas blowback accessible and fun, affordable, and again, parts support. You know, like we were talking earlier about this part support thing, obviously having the backup that you have, guys like you have got from brands like VORSK is great. And if you've got that in place, then obviously the more you release and the more complicated stuff you release, then the better it will be. So
this goes back to maybe 10 years ago. I had sort of a WA gas blowback AR type system. Yeah. Used it, absolutely loved it, but I knew the sort of how much effort I had to put into it to run it. After 6 months, the hammer snapped, and I'm like, so I now need to go find this. I mean, so that's you're gonna try and take that away from players, that they can just go, oh, this is gone, I can get it sorted in a week.
I mean, I've got some stories from, I don't want to go into naming brands, but yeah, like, mate, like seriously caused me some serious issues. Like in my, like every day I get there and I'll be like, right, it's gonna work this time. No. And then you get there, and then you've done all this, and you think, oh, it's got to work this time. Look how much money I've spent on it, and it still doesn't work. And yeah,
but for that 10 minutes, it worked. It was amazing.
It was brilliant. It was like people just thought you were like crazy, and it was like, oh yeah, but I've been out there and I've got through this much ammo, and you know, I've had a great time, and I'm there. But you didn't see that one that one time I went around that corner and took that guy out.
Yeah.
Mate.
So you're now trying to take that, not frustration, because back then it was all part and parcel of Airsoft, sort of investing your time into that platform, and having to go to wherever, and hopefully a hammer or a bearing or a spring would turn up in 6 weeks, and you might get another chance of using it. Now you can come to us, you can come to wherever you need to. They can contact you, and you can get that bit that's either broken, or again, the future swap slides out, so you can have different colours and
that's it. So for me, the dealer network was really important, and we learned a lot of that at Nuprol over the last 10 years. And the dealer network thing's actually more important. Something like VORSK would have never been possible without it, because that is true. Anybody who has issues or anything with this stuff, you know, if you go to your dealers who stock it, then they're in contact with us directly, and if it's possible, which it probably is, to sort out, then you know it can be done, depending on a whole of. I don't want to go putting sweeping just, oh, it's all fine, we'll sort everything. Yeah. Obviously it depends on warranties, but equally it's there, and for us that wasn't. So I think that's definitely a large improvement.
So we've got another viewer question. Lee on Facebook. It's going again. How about a shotgun? Sorry, he's only just joined.
Do you know? Right? Yes. I mean, probably. I mean, I can't.
It's whether or not it's just going to be a shotgun, or is it going to be a gas blowback?
I'm finding it difficult because I don't want to, like. Obviously, it's like I said. I've got the next. We know the next like 4 years. So I mean, probably
it goes back into what Ross was saying earlier on about how long it takes projects to come to fruition. Like one of the launch projects was the first high cappers, the 4.3s and the 5.1s, and obviously like some elements of that snowballed into the Vengeance, which made it a bit quicker and easier to release. And then Ross was saying earlier about projects that are still, they've been running since day one, and we're a couple of years in yet, and we're still not there.
Yeah.
So,
that goes.
I feel like all of these questions are it's a time.
There's things behind the wall over there that you've shown us that we can't, because these are really cool and prototypes and things like that. But like what we're on about, that it gets to a point where potentially they could stop. So you can't start saying this is coming, this is coming, this is coming.
Yeah.
When you're not confident.
It's not even about confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It
Yeah.
could stop, but it's not even that. It's just at the end of the day, it's his business.
It's not going to stop though, is it?
No, and
No, that one's not.
stuff. No,
Yeah.
It's a business at the end of the day as well, and obviously we have competition, and I'm not our stuff that's being worked on now. When things are ready to discuss, we discuss them. And for me, it's really exciting. All I'm saying is, anybody who's thinking, "Oh, you can make a shotgun, you can have a rifle, you're gonna," VORSK is a brand that's here to stay.
Yeah.
It's a brand that's had massive investment. It's a brand that is, in my opinion, and I will say this obviously, but it's untouchable in terms of its quality as well as parts support. You're going to get the odd lemon gun here and there, mate. It is what it is. I'm being real.
I've said this to a lot of people. It's you can be a victim of your own success in airsoft when usually when one item breaks, someone has a bad experience, it goes. If someone gets 10 guns out there, that might happen once. If you get the amount out there that this happens, you might get the extra one or two. Therefore, there's going to be 3 people talking about rather than the one person had a bad thing. So that is maybe a victim of the own
No,
success.
it's possibly the most true multiplier you could ever. I mean, for me, I see how many units moved into a year, and I see. And again, I know we're in the UK and we're all speaking English and stuff, but we have some wonderful partners in France and Belgium and all over Europe and the Netherlands, and these guys are supportive. They're on board. They know what's happening. They know what's coming. And they love it too, and they've got their network that's built up, and it's very much a supported thing. So like, yes, you are going to, the amount of units that are moved of this stock and these products, then yes, of course, you're going to have the odd problem, and you are probably going to hear about it more, because again, everybody's had, if anybody who's had a bad experience with something is it's going to stick with them.
Yes.
I've just had one myself with something that was another brand, nothing to do with Air Force, but it kind of, you think it's going to be excellent, and you build it all up, and then if it happens to you, even though most people are kind of saying, "Oh, it's cool, you think, "Oh yeah, but that wasn't my experience." So that's it really. So for us, we just like to make sure that that's kept to an absolute minimum, and we're not perfect.
And the word to get out there is, if you do have a problem, go to your dealer and it'll get sorted.
That's always been I'm very open in that. I mean, yes, that's basically it. I can't really be any fairer as a brand than that. I mean, we believe in what we do. If we have problems, we fix it. So yeah.
We do what we can do. Like we were talking about the prototyping stage, there are many prototypes that come through.
But again, the prototyping takes that long because we're
trying to reduce issues like that, and then and like we're saying, all the spares and everything are available. So we're here.
Yeah.
Should we be required?
So obviously we've been on about the pistols and potentially rifles and LMGs in many years' time, but the VORSK, the BBs, and is there any other part of it that's going to expand? Obviously you've got the BDS side of things, holsters. We've talked about the mags. Where else is this bubble sort of going to change?
So it's really, for me, it will probably end up going into, again, without talking about unannounced projects, it's probably, if it's to do with your replica, like you've got your gas, you've got your ammo, you've got your gun, anything else you can kind of think of that's going to be specific to these things, it's probably in the works or coming. Are we going to suddenly jump over to being an AEG brand? No. We're definitely focused on what we're doing with this stuff, and that's important to me, because I want it to be, we're focused on what we're doing, and if there's something that VORSK can produce that will aid the use of this stuff, the reliability of it, then it's probably going to be in the works, made or later on down the road, produced, and whether that's dots, like the Vengeance, where we made these new bespoke dot sight mounts for them, and all this kind of stuff, and then they're available. And if it's something like that that's quite defining, then it'll probably end up being available. Like the VX9, not many people know that the grips that we made, because they are available separately, and they should fit onto most 1911s. And that was a thing that we got asked for quite a lot, because obviously you've made this unique thing. So yeah, stuff like that, definitely.
So we've covered quite a bit on like the design process and stuff like that. If knowing what you know now from the years and things like that, is there any part of any of the projects that you've done you'd change, tweak, or like previously we looked at like one of the G series came out and it came out like 25 colours or whatever it is, and would you scale that down, or do you think going in the future, do you still want to give that as an option?
I don't think you can. I mean, in the position I'm in, I think it's hindsight's just great, right?
Yes.
But I think really no, because if anything we'd done differently at all, then we wouldn't be here right now talking about it. So yeah, lessons are learned. I'm not going to go into specific ones because obviously we're wonderful. But you know, realistically, yes, of course, lessons are learned. You know, you increase the productivity, you make things better, you increase the quality. There are things that maybe from a running sort of building this stuff perspective you might do differently now with new projects, but again, we support our old ones. You know, we update all of our molds if they need to be updated, we change things, and if things, that's why again talking to dealers is important, because if you end up with something that, oh, that part broke, you might go to your dealer and they might say, oh yeah, VORSK is actually here, they've done that, they've supplied that.
So I think that was a thing. I've not got on there, the 1911, the muzzle and things like that. You're thinking of changing things.
There's things that have changed on different models over the times. Does it mean that everything? I want to be clear. Everything we release is ready to be released, and it's good, and it's good quality, and you shouldn't face any issues because we do a lot of testing. But you know, later on down the line, you might find that you might develop another model and think actually that method of doing that's a bit better, so we update it. It's not something that we're just going to go on about, but we don't make a product and then forget about it. So we do always looking and learning and updating and improving things. And manufacturing, molds break, and when molds break, you might have thought, oh, that mold we had on that was 6 years old now, but actually when we were looking at that, we should have probably included that. Bosh, done, we'll put that on a new one, because that's kind of, I don't think, you've got to be careful, because I don't want to, people who purchase our stuff should be able to rely on it, trust it, and that's cool, and I'm not saying we're not doing that, but what I'm saying is that if later on down the line we don't just put that's in the done pile, and we'll never ever go to that again, and if
something does change or anything like that, and going back to that parts process thing, it's not going to make, nothing's going to be uncompatible in the future, or anything like, it's all going to still work.
That's a very, compatibility for me is a big thing, and as we announce new projects into this year and next, you'll see what we mean by being friendly, and that sort of making things that help the end user enjoy their experience more. It's difficult without going into all of the things that we're obviously talking about, but we're very much on that. I don't want to ever leave customers high and dry. I don't want people to feel like, oh, I was an early adopter, and you know, thanks for that. You know,
it's simply how things are going to attach to a platform might change, but it's still going to work. It's not like you're going to randomly change how the feed lips work on a 911.
But equally, it's like if you go and buy a car and you bought the car in 2010, you know, you can't get angry that the 2020 model has got lane assist, but yours in 2010 didn't. Like, that's, from that perspective, obviously that's how I view it. But I have to make sure that the stuff that does come out is the best it can be when it comes out. Definitely, there's no holding things back or changing it later. It's everything's as good as it can be. But obviously, as a brand, as you learn things or things get better, you have to improve everything. You can't just say, "Oh well, we did that 10 years ago and that's fine."
So we've looked at the 3D printing of things like that. Do you, and obviously going, like I was talking about doing this 20 years ago when there was probably maybe 3 airsoft brands that you could sort of look at. Is this the sort of best or the biggest technological advancement that's assisted the process of going from this to this, or do you just think there's just so much tech out there that's making this a lot easier to do for yourselves?
It's like every year it's more exciting. I mean, you have to learn. The only thing is, because it's all new technology, you have to kind of, like my lead engineer, he's like amazingly talented, and he didn't know how talented he was really in certain areas until 2 years ago. And I think that's really cool, because it's, the stuff doesn't exist. So like, how are you supposed to
Because 20 years ago, you would have had
that
to
was
send that
was
off,
magic.
get it machined,
Yeah, it's literally magic.
and do it. But you can put that in a program and get that printed in.
Yeah, so we don't have to waste as much time. This is what I'm saying about the manufacturing times and stuff, and project times can be different depending on projects, because we do have at our disposal certain ways to be able to check most things now in house, which is weird. I mean, we're still getting used to that ourselves. I come in sometimes. I'll pop into the office and I sit down and I'll get shown, so there's the thing that we were talking about 2 weeks ago, and I've like forgotten that specific thing, and it's like there it is, and I'm not looking at it like, right, okay, cool.
10 years ago that had taken 6 months to just
that's
get
mad.
to it.
And my I come from a long line of engineers in my family who were a lot into like CNC machining and all that kind of stuff, and it's to be able to just make something, prototype it like that. To be honest, it is mind-boggling, but it's getting so good now. I mean, our 3D printers that we have at work, they're just, I just call them the magic box, because although I do have an understanding of how they work and be able to operate them, it's kind of weird. You get it out and you clean them off, and you're looking at it and you're thinking,
that didn't exist 2 hours ago.
Yeah. So definitely, technology-wise, definitely VORSK, I would say for Airsoft is absolutely up there. With its technology that we have available to us. I won't go into listing all of what we have, but we have cool stuff, don't we?
Yeah.
So, definitely.
So from Nuprol as well, that's part of it. There's the investment going into you're being given new toys to kind of help with the design process.
Yeah, R&D was something that I learned a lot, cut my teeth on with Nuprol, and the way that VORSK's been doing it in a good way from day one. So it's been very good for us to be able to sort of have it from day one already in a good place, whereas obviously when you're developing stuff early on, like Nuprol's been around for years now, so when I was there doing that, it was difficult, because again, when you're the first to do it, when you're like up there at the first, not saying we're the only people to do it, but when you're up there and you are some of the first to do this stuff,
you're trying to write the rules for it,
you're kind of writing the book,
at the same time.
So it's tough, and it's very challenging, but it's definitely the stuff that we have available to us and will do in the future is definitely aiding in the design, but it's also aiding in making it better and more exciting. So is there anything? So we touched on there's going to be little features and little tidbits and stuff on most of these platforms that people just don't simply know about. For example, the inner barrel. So what we were on about earlier with the 1911 is you design this to have the option to run it as it is, or you can screw an extra inner barrel in it and put the suppressor on it. That inner barrel system has gone on to everything else as well. Right. Yeah.
So is there any information like that you kind of maybe think that people don't know that you want to just put out there?
Yeah, it's a couple of bits like the Defender Pro that you have in the box there.
This one?
Yeah, that has like a twist and click, I called it, front piece.
The muzzle brake,
So basically when you buy the Defender Pro, inside the box, not many people might know this, you actually have the barrel bushing. And what you can do is Defender Pro, if you don't, because it's a beautiful gun anyway, with or without the front piece, you can basically just press the button in, twist it comes off, and then you put the barrel bushing in, click it in place.
So you got
done.
two looks in
Exactly.
one, and some people might
and
not
literally
know.
don't even have to take the gun apart, don't even have to take the slide off.
Yeah.
So that again feeds into what we do with our stuff moving forward, is trying to make it as compatible and friendly to use as possible. That's definitely the Defender Pro. That's definitely one. As I said,
the 12-14 thread adapters, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which are on every model. Which
Yeah.
some people get a bit confused with, I think, when they see
so
it.
thread adapter wise, when we first started making the VORSK eye cappers, we went for that look with the front piece, the flash hider. That was mainly to just give you a good quality thread adapter, like out the box, because it's a real frustration. So
you're actually on the VP26X as well. You made an
Yeah,
extended
so-
because you're so committed to doing that. You released an extended one to get past the
that's it.
breacher,
So
didn't
on
you?
the 26 up here, because the breacher piece is like right there on the front, and you've got the masher piece, and when you charge that weapon, you watch the whole thing. It kind of moves the whole thing back, so it would pull the barrel up and in.
Yeah.
So what the problem with that is, if you go to fit a suppressor, it doesn't work properly because it jams. Now, my issue with that was we make commitments in our design commitments to.
There's no way to tell that to a player, so
No.
you've got to change something.
So you have to make everything. So I will say it's all got. What's the point of all having the inner barrels? We'll commit to the inner barrel thing, but if I commit to the inner barrel thing, what's the point of putting an inner barrel on a VP26 with a thread on it if you can't put a suppressor on it? Now, look, I'm not saying you should all go out and put a suppressor on a VP26. Personally, I think it looks cool, but some people will think there's something wrong with me for saying that, and that's fine too. But it's, again, down to that choice. So in the box, you actually get the actual adapter isn't a standard adapter, if you look at it. It's actually the same cover and everything. We don't fit it out the box. It's one of the first guns we didn't fit the cover out the box, just because I think looks-wise it's kind of been...
It needs the suppressor as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of been designed without that in mind, right? It's kind of been designed as a... But because of that commitment, it's in there. You take the cover off, you can fit suppressors to the 26X. And again, it's not a thing I don't think that's been shouted about, just like the Defender Pro front piece. So yeah, that's another one.
Yeah. So there's loads of little bits in there.
There are when you dig into the on the Vengeance, when you take the red dot off, there's a cutout now on the underside of the red dot, so it slides over the sight, stuff like that. Just little things that if you don't think about, they don't. It's kind of you can miss it, and it's endless.
But yeah, so. Covered absolutely loads there.
Yeah,
it's always great talking to you. We've gone through from your childhood pictures on your fridge to 3D printed parts, CNC'd, all the way to what is end user, new bits, future bits. We didn't touch on that, but this is a new colour that's coming out.
Yeah, it's just the full grey. We've gone down at grey. Seems to be quite a nice. I think a lot of people like it. I personally really love it. Yeah, the split slide high capper there is going to be available in full grey soon.
Yeah. So I think the last thing to cover is with Tom is a giveaway.
Indeed.
So we've been generously given a few bits. We won't go through everything that is going to be thrown at you, but if you do stay tuned to social media and stuff like that, but it is probably one of the newest platforms that you've brought out. I think there's a double pack and there's some various other bits in there, but thank you very much for Tom for bringing that along and giving us that. Thank you very much to Ross for talking to us for...
I can still go if you want.
We can just keep going on.
I reckon I've just warmed up.
Just warmed up, yeah. Well, it's quite cold in here, so...
Yeah, that's true.
But as always, thanks very much for joining us and all you that dropped questions in. If you do like what we're doing here and you want... you like this content of us sitting down with people and getting all this really good information out there that a lot of people just don't know if they don't talk to the people that it matters to. Please subscribe to the YouTube, hit that bell to get the notifications, so every time we go live you will get a little ping on your phone and you can come and join us and ask the questions that you want to ask. But that's everything for today. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Tom. Thanks to the guys that are behind the scenes that make this all possible. But until next time, I'll see you in a bit.